Hi, and welcome back to part 2 of parallel template development number 3 in parallel line development. Okay, well, where we left off, we'd already put the right hand side on. One thing I thought about after doing this first set of lines, we've got everything we need for this lower part of the frustrum here. But this line at the top is going to be both green and orange, so we're going to come up there and touch that when we start to get on the dips on the very top. But this is basically sharing the same point between green and orange. However, I'm going to put the next lot of lines on, which is the green, and I'm really going to go from the farthest one and go straight across. So I'm just going to grab myself a polyline and place it on the lowest one of the lines and bring it out around about the same area. And then I'm going to copy this thing up the same as I did with the orange lines and indeed the white lines. And I'm going to copy this object and just zoom right into it there. Just pull it down maybe a fraction. And then copy it from this end up to each of the lines of intersection as I go all the way up to the top. And I'm just paying note to see whether anything clashes there, which it doesn't. I don't need to put the top one on because I'm going to bounce it off the orange. Okay, so that's it. So that's all of the lines put on. So we're going to go from green to orange around the corner, up in orange, then down in green on the pattern. So let's pull that across. Okay, I'm just going to change this back to white for now because we need to put the uprights in. And basically, if I just pop it back to white, we can do that, or I could have put it back to by layer, or basically by let's check, by block. All right, we're not on block, so okay, so polyline, just going to pick a point and come down. This is just going to go the full length of the object. We can get our calculator out basically and see how far around we're going to need to go. So we're going to go 2 star, which is to multiply by pi, and equals, so that's going to be just over 6 1/4 inches. I'm going to wipe over that number and then do a copy, and just like the last one, I'm going to come up to offset. I'm going to enter by Control V, so I'm going to paste that number in there. My cursor is going to turn to a little square. I'm going to left click on that, and then click to the right hand side so that I develop that second line. Now, whilst we still got this number up here, I'm going to make sure my cursor's on the back of that number, and this time I'm going to divide by the total number of divisions, which in this case is 24, and hit equals. So this is going to be a slightly smaller division because the last one was 0.3 something, but I'm just going to wipe over this and do a Control C for copy, go back to my little offset command and enter it. I see that done a copy clip, so let me try that again. I'm going to go there, Control V, that's my number, and hit enter. So then I can step this thing across, and obviously there's going to be a lot of these, so left click to the right, left click to the right, etc. Just keep on going right the way across this pattern so that we get the appropriate number of lines. So this is the boring bit whenever you're going to do something like this, and occasionally you'll make a mistake, or you'll be concentrating on something else or thinking about something else, and suddenly one will go backwards, so you end up with 2 lines. It doesn't really matter. If it does that, you just keep on going until you fill this whole thing up. There is another technique we could use, but it would mean trimming the line out, the lines that we drew, and that can be pretty laborious too. So that's our 24 sections. So once we've done that, now we can get rid of the calculator and we can grab our trusty red line so that I could show you how to trace around this object. So on here, I'm going to grab the red, and I'm just going to go from point to point. You'll have to work out yourself whether things can be smoothed properly or not. Sometimes when it gets to the very top of an object, these are pretty peaky, and I would probably just, and one of the reasons why I use 24 on here is I won't really need to smooth it. I'm just going to deal with whether it's a fine enough fit on the object when I get to the actual construction, the welding part. So I'm on red. I'm going to grab my polyline. I'm coming down to the very first section there, and I'm going to start going up and going across on each of these green lines, because we're following the green right the way up to the top. Now you can use the pan command in between. That gives us a better view there of most of the lines. We're going across and right there, and then we're actually going to go right the way up to that one there, and I'm just going to double check. Yep, we're going from there right to the very top. So you can see it's starting to really start to dive down a little bit as we've gone around that corner. It's going to start bending back the other way. So from there, we go down on this side, because we're still going across these segments. We're now going from orange down to orange, down to orange, down to orange. Okay, and we've got one line that's right over the top of the other one there too, by the look of it. Yes, it is. Okay, so we're going to go from orange to orange, then we go from orange to orange, orange to orange, and then this one, which is right on the edge, shares its color across the orange one. So this is what the sort of thing you've got to be careful with. So we're actually going to there, then we're going to come back up to orange, orange, orange. Just going to move that across a little bit more. Up to orange, then we're coming down through the greens. Down through the greens, and like I said before, just move that up. You know you're right if you finish back down on the same line that you started with, which we did. Okay? So that's our top section, looking at it in a whole, right? That's our top section. And if you can imagine that bending around, we will have that slope down, right the way down to the front, and we do have this little nick across the back of the object. Okay. Now we're going to do the one that's on the bottom. Okay, this one's going to be like a double eyebrow effect, because if you can imagine if we look at the drawing for a second, as we go around this object, we're going to have one dip up, then around the back a second dip up, and you can see that there. If you can imagine this being unfurled, we're going to end up with like a pair of eyebrows on the bottom, okay, which is visible on the bottom of that one. Okay, so get that one off the screen. This time I'm going to leave my red on. I do know that if I'm starting from there, I'm going to the lowest point, because that's on the same line as the point in which I started. I'm just going to start on this bottom line here, so I'm just going to grab my polyline, come down to there, and just go up, across, up, across, up. I'm just coming in. You can see it rounding over a little bit, then it starts to come down the other side. So we still just step our way around each of these divisions one by one. Don't be scared about moving things around if you need to. And as soon as we get to one side, we got that nip up the other side. So we're just going to go around again, just stepping across and stepping up till we get to the very top. And bringing that sucker back down this side, and we end up right on the bottom line where we should be. So I'm just going to bring that back and bring that down, and basically apart from the two sidelines, which I'll put back on now, we're done. That is our pattern. It's quite a little bit more complex, should I say, than the other one. But it's really just messing with your head when you've got all these lines and convergements, and you know, when you're looking at something that you've got a pattern you could follow, like the picture of the second page on the the design request, which is template development number 3 in your handout, you can see what you need, but following these masses of lines, especially when you've got multiple facets coming up one side and down the other, and especially when I didn't initially realize that we have that one, which is right over the one on the green the other side. That one I didn't realize. I knew that there was one on the top, but I didn't realize this one, but there is a point on that frustum right against the edge. And that can sometimes throw you through a loop. But if you ever end one of these lines short of where you should be, then you'll know that you've made a problem, and you just go around and check these things point by point by point. And then you'll find that you've missed one, or you need to put an extra point in there. And you can just like blow these things apart and do them one by one, etc. Just remember that even at the end of the day, if you want to burn this out on the Plas, you're going to need to poly edit the top, the bottom, and the two sides into one continuous line so you can burn it out. Well, I hope you've enjoyed doing this one. It is one of the more complicated ones that we've done so far. And one extra one, if you do need any extra work, I do have some extra parallel line developments that I wouldn't normally put in this course. But if you really want to explore it a little bit more, I'll give you some links for some decent books to download, and I do have a couple of extra exercises. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll see you on the next session, which will be radial line development number 1.